Okay, whenever you're ready.
This is going to be your 3845 router. The way it's positioned now, you're looking at the back of the router as opposed to the front of the router, face. Before we get started, what we're going to want to do is make sure the router's turned off. You can turn it off by, switching it into the downward position. Better to probably just pull the power supplies to make sure there's no active current running through here. That'll probably be the better way to go and the easiest. So once that's done, we're gonna, in the rack, it should be racked in your mini rolling rack facing you. So what we're going to do first is remove the locking screws so we can release the main board from the chassis. It only takes a couple of turns and the screws will pop out on their own and stop themselves by the built-in spring. From there, you want to pull the locking arms towards you, which will then release the board and will freely come out on its own. Place the board on somewhere that's static free, flat surface best. So what we're going to be looking at here on the board is going to be on the left side of the board, while it's facing you, is your PVDM slots. These are what we're going to be using to install our voice card. So we have either PVDM slot 0, 1, 2, or 3. It doesn't really make a difference which slot it's in. As long as it's in one of the slots, we'll be able to configure that voice card. So this part, I'm actually going to be removing it by releasing the locking arms. That'll release it from its position, its current position, to the position you see now where it's kind of loose. And I could freely move it out and pull it out at an angle. So now we're actually going to install it. Same way, in reverse order, just put it back in at an angle. And if you're just really gentle with it, you'll feel it lock into place on its own, where it kind of seats into the actual slot, where it lines up itself with the middle groove to the middle post in the middle. Don't know what to call it, but I think you can see it for yourself. So once it's in there, we're not going to force it up. We're more or less going to guide it. More finesse, not force, right? Once you get it up to a certain level where it looks level, you don't want to force it all the way up because you're not going to hear it click into place. What you're going to want to do is make sure that the module lines up with the standoff posts. There's these two holes in the module and they line up with these two little posts, and if they are, then you can push one side in at a time to wrap this little locking arm around the module. And once it's locked into place, it's seated. You can give it a little touch, pushing it down just to make sure it's in there. Now that we know it's in there, we're going to put it back into the chassis. From here, we can lay the lip on the front of the chassis platform. So back on its left and its right, there's going to be some other parts, and it's kind of going to fit in to these grooves that in the back, these rails. There's also front rails on the left and the right side that are going to line up with the back part of the chassis. So if you push it in just by sliding it across, it's not going to go all the way in. What you're going to want to do is pick it up just a hair, and to pick it up and kind of guide it in. These rails, the same height of the rails in the back. So if it doesn't go all the way back, you might just want to sort of play with it by picking it up. Not too far. You're just talking just centimeters in. And once it's in both of the rails, as you can see, it easily slides in on its own. If it slides in on its own, then it's lining up with the rails in the front, the rear, and the front. From there, you just push it in using your thumbs, and it will lock itself into place. You'll see the arms fold in. That's a good indication that it's locking itself, and you just want to use that same momentum and push them in even further where it locked itself into place. From there, you just tighten the screws back up. And we're done with the PVDM installation. Now you're free to connect the power and turn the switch back on.